a two-picture deal as well with United Artists as themselves and myself as partners.
After playing James Bond for decades, Sean Connery thought he had seen Hollywood's worst. He was wrong. In 2003, a single movie set became his breaking point. The director insulted him publicly. The studio ignored his concerns. When Connery watched them destroy his final performance, he reached his limit. The moment that ended his career wasn't about money or fame. It was about respect. What they did to him in that editing room was so devastating, he walked away from acting forever. The truth will break your heart. Sean Connery came into the world on August 25, 1930, inside the Royal Maternity Hospital in Edinburgh, and nothing about his beginning felt easy. His family lived in a tiny cold-water flat at 176 Fountain Bridge, a spot people called the Street of 1,000 Smells. The place had 2 cramped rooms, shared outdoor toilets, no hot water, and a tin tub for washing that sat in front of the fire. His parents, Joseph and Effie, worked endlessly to stay afloat. His crib was the bottom drawer of a dresser because they could not afford anything better. He shared a bed in the kitchen with his younger brother Neil, who arrived 8 years after him, and there were days the family survived only because of charity. It was the Great Depression. Everyone around them was poor, yet Sean later said he never knew how poor they were because that was simply life. By 9, he was already waking before dawn to help. He became a milkman for St. Cuthbert's Cooperative Society, pedaling through Edinburgh's cold streets while other children were still asleep. He earned pennies, but every penny mattered. He memorized each customer's cream preference because good memory meant better tips. The job toughened him in more ways than one. He battled frostbite during winters and endured bullying from richer kids who mocked his worn-out clothes. Many years later, in 2009, he surprised a taxi driver by naming every street they passed. The driver asked how he knew the city so well, and Connery simply said he had delivered milk there as a boy. The driver then asked what he did now, unaware he was speaking to a global star. By 13, school was over for him. He dropped out with no formal qualifications, no certificates, nothing. Poverty pushed him into full-time work, and the weight of responsibility landed on his shoulders before he even reached adulthood. He later confessed he often lied about his education just to get jobs. Still, he taught himself to read and write with a drive that came from deep inside. He said that in his childhood, ambition did not exist. The goal was survival from one day to the next. That lack of education stayed with him all his life, shaping his support for literacy causes. His estate later donated millions to Dyslexia Scotland after discovering both his granddaughters struggled with dyslexia, a reminder of how close he remained to the hardships he had known. Inside his home, life was just as hard. His father Joseph struggled with severe alcoholism, and the house often felt tense and unpredictable. His wages disappeared into drinking, leaving even less money for food or bills. Sean grew up in a place where anger arrived fast, and frustration exploded without warning. By 10, he was taking extra jobs, polishing shoes, and helping at a butcher shop. The streets around Fountain Bridge offered no protection. Fights broke out everywhere, and he learned quickly how to defend himself. People remembered him as a kid who could slip coins to young children who had nothing and still stand strong against anyone who tried to push him around. He learned to survive with his fists and with his heart. Then came a moment he never forgot. At 14, he had his first sexual experience with a 20-year-old ATS woman during World War II. They met at a dance hall, and she led him to an air raid shelter. He later described the experience with a kind of wonder, calling it a moment of heat he felt all the way through his body. Edinburgh was under threat of bombing at the time, which made everything feel even more unreal. That encounter took him from childhood to adulthood fast, and by 18, he had grown into a 6'2" young man with features that would soon turn heads everywhere he went. At 16, he left home and joined the Royal Navy. It seemed like an escape from everything he knew. He trained at Portsmouth Naval Gunnery School and later served as an able seaman on HMS Formidable from 1946 to 1948. During the ship's missions, it ferried Australian prisoners of war back to Sydney before returning home for retirement. In a dockside shop, he got 2 tattoos that stayed with him all his life. One read "Scotland Forever" inside a bleeding heart. The other showed Mum and Dad. But his naval journey ended early. By 19, he was medically discharged because of duodenal ulcers, a problem that ran through generations of the men in his family. He later joked that maybe the ulcers came from his struggle with officers who reached their positions through privilege instead of effort. When he returned to Edinburgh in 1949, he was young, broke, and unsure of what came next. He went back to delivering milk and bounced between all kinds of jobs. He drove lorries, worked construction, bent steel, and took any labor job that could help him survive. One of his strangest jobs was as a lifeguard at Portobello Swimming Baths, a place where his impressive build started to get attention. That attention led to something even stranger. He began posing as an artist's model at Edinburgh College of Art, sometimes wearing nothing but a black G-string. Richard DeMarco, one of the artists who painted him, later said Connery looked like a quiet Adonis, too beautiful for words. For a brief stretch, Connery even polished coffins at a funeral home, though no detailed stories from that period survive. He never gave up on his love for football. He played right wing for Bonnyrigg Rose, earning 5 shillings each week, plus bus fare for his trips. His teammates did not think he stood out much on the field, yet he still managed to secure a trial with East Fife. The biggest football surprise, however, came years later when he was touring with the musical South Pacific. His cast played a local match in Manchester, and Sir Matt Busby happened to be there. Busby watched him play, liked what he saw, and offered Connery a contract worth £25 a week. Connery thought about it. Then he turned it down. He said he was already too old for a football career and believed his path was shifting toward acting. That choice would change cinema history. Everything moved fast when he discovered theater. In 1951, he auditioned for the chorus of South Pacific. The show had already become a huge hit at London's Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. Connery joined as a CB earning £12 a week. When the production reached Edinburgh, he was promoted to Marine Corporal Hamilton Steeves and given 2 understudy roles. His pay rose to £14 and 10 shillings. By the next year, he earned an even bigger part as Lieutenant Buzz Adams. This was the same role Larry Hagman played in London. Connery did not know it then, but it was the beginning of something much larger. It was also where his bodybuilding hobby began to matter. He fell in love with weight training at 21. He trained hard, pushed himself daily, and built a body that changed his confidence and his future. On July 7, 1953, he entered the NABA Mr. Universe competition in London. He competed as Tom Connery in the junior class and finished 3rd. The muscle magazine, Health and Strength, featured him with pride. With the small prize money he earned, he bought his first proper suit for auditions. It helped him look the part of an actor instead of a laborer. That same year, his success in bodybuilding helped him secure an audition for a new touring production of South Pacific. By 1954, while performing in Manchester, he met Michael Caine at a cast party. That meeting sparked a lifelong friendship. Around this time, Connery met actor Robert Henderson, who changed his world by lending him books by Ibsen, Proust, Tolstoy, Turgenev, Shaw, Joyce, and Shakespeare. Connery devoured them one after another. He pushed his mind in the same way he pushed his muscles. His first step into film happened in early 1957, when his agent, Richard Hatton, landed him a role in No Road Back. He played Spike, a small-time gangster with a speech impediment, and brought his natural lisp into the performance. It was a tiny role, but it opened the door to what came next. Soon after that, he appeared in Hell Drivers in 1957. He played one of the reckless lorry drivers, another rough role that matched his working-class background. Everything shifted in April 1957. BBC producer Alvin Rakoff cast him in Requiem for a heavyweight when Jack Palance pulled out at the last moment. Rakoff had doubts about the unknown Scotsman until several women on set whispered that Connery had something special. That whisper changed his life. He took the lead role as Mountain McClintock, and the live broadcast became a huge step forward. It proved Connery could carry a story. It also proved he was more than a villain or a background figure. Even as he gained traction, money stayed tight. Through the late 1950s, he worked odd jobs to survive. There were stories from this period about his toughness too, including the famous moment at the Palais de Danse where he fought off 6 men from the Valdor gang. He threw them around like they weighed nothing, earning a kind of street legend status. Television started calling. He appeared as a boxer in the Square Ring in 1956 and again in a 1959 remake. His bodybuilding physique made him believable. Then came a surprising turn when he landed a romantic lead in the 1959 Disney film Darby O'Gill and The Little People. He played Michael McBride, sang songs, and worked opposite Janet Monroe. For the first time, audiences saw a softer side of him. By 1961, he was struggling again but refusing to quit. That was when Albert Broccoli and Harry Saltzman started searching for a face to play James Bond. They approached big stars first. Cary Grant said no. Others passed too. Connery came to the meeting in casual clothes, nothing fancy. But when he walked out, the producers watched him from the window. His stride sealed their decision. They saw confidence. They saw danger. They saw Bond. On November 3, 1961, they announced his casting. He earned only £6,000 for Dr. Number director Terence Young personally polished him into Bond, taking him to fine tailors and teaching him everything from casino manners to elegant dining. Filming began on January 16, 1962, in Jamaica. The budget was small, around $1 million. Ursula Andress walked out of the ocean in her famous white bikini, and cinema changed forever. Danger was real on set, especially in later films. Sharks broke through barriers during Thunderball. Connery escaped with seconds to spare. Crew members nearly died too. Every day came with risk. One of the scariest scenes in Dr. No involved a tarantula crawling across Bond's body. Connery hated spiders, so stuntman Bob Simmons stepped in. The crew told him the poison was removed, but that was not true. Nurses waited nearby just in case. The shot became iconic, though Connery himself kept a safe distance. Dr. No premiered in the UK in 1962 and in America on May 8, 1963. It made $59.5 million worldwide, about 55 times its cost. Connery became a star overnight. His salary jumped to $154,000 for From Russia with Love, then $500,000 for Goldfinger, and eventually $1.25 million for Diamonds Are Forever. Despite the success, he lived modestly. He bought a second-hand Jaguar, a small home, and kept habits from childhood. He counted cash by hand and hated leaving lights on in empty rooms. The iconic line, Bond. James Bond came directly from Ian Fleming's books. In early film takes, Connery even slipped and said, "Sean Bond." The crew gave him a drink to steady himself, and then he delivered the line with perfect timing. During From Russia with Love, a pyrotechnic blast singed his eyebrows, and makeup artists had to paint them back on for days. In Goldfinger, his reaction to Jill Masterson's gold-painted body was partly improvised. In Thunderball, he swam with sharks that got far too close. And in You Only Live Twice, the Japanese press invaded his life so intensely that a guard even photographed him on a toilet. That moment pushed him to walk away from the role. In 1971, United Artists begged him to return for Diamonds Are Forever. They offered him $1.25 million. He took it, but donated the entire fee to create the Scottish International Education Trust. It was his way of giving young Scots the chance he never had. In 1965, a Playboy interview cast a long shadow over his life. He said things about hitting women that shocked the world. He repeated the comments again in 1987, and the controversy followed him for decades. It remains one of the darkest parts of his legacy. Sean Connery stepped into Marnie in 1964 with the kind of presence that filled every room, but the set itself felt heavy from the very start. Tippi Hedren tried to hold herself together, while Alfred Hitchcock kept pushing her in ways that twisted the whole experience into something dark. The film carried a disturbing marital rape scene where Connery's character forces himself on her during their honeymoon cruise, and that scene still feels unsettling today. Behind the camera, Hitchcock's obsession with Hedren grew so intense that he tried to control what she wore, what she ate, and even how her name appeared on screen. He made a direct sexual proposition in her trailer, and she turned him down. And that became the moment where everything between them cracked. One day, she snapped and insulted his weight. After that, he never spoke to her again. He only referred to her as the girl, even though they stood only a few feet apart while filming. She carried all that pressure and still delivered a performance that felt raw and haunting, even as the director tried to drag her down with a 3-decade age gap power game that she never wanted. Years later, Connery found himself in an entirely different world when he stepped into The Untouchables in 1987 and won his first and only Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He played Jim Malone with a kind of calm grit that made the whole character rise off the screen. The movie almost changed completely at one point because Bob Hoskins had been paid $200,000 not to appear as Al Capone when Robert De Niro agreed to take the part. Connery owned the famous Chicago Way moment with Kevin Costner when he said, "They pull a knife, you pull a gun." And that line became something people repeated long after they left the theater. The movie cost $25 million to make. Costner earned $1 million for the lead role. Connery filmed his work in only 4 weeks and brought so much weight to the story that it revived his career after Bond. His death scene, where Malone reaches across the floor while struggling for air, still hits hard every time someone watches it. Then came Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in 1989. It became the highest-grossing film of the year with $474.2 million worldwide on a $48 million budget. Connery stepped in as Henry Jones Sr., and something clicked between him and Harrison Ford. Their scenes together felt natural and warm and funny, and their father-son rhythm became one of the film's strongest parts. The movie opened on May 28 with a $29.3 million weekend, and later won an Academy Award for Best Sound Effects Editing. Spielberg pushed for Connery to return in the 2008 film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but Connery refused. He said the part was not generous enough and that the father was not that important to the new story. He even suggested killing off Henry Sr., and Spielberg used that idea. In the film, Indy quietly looks at a photo of his father, and the audience understands the rest. When Connery appeared in The Hunt for Red October in 1990, he proved once again that he could carry a heavy story even at 60. The movie made $200.5 million worldwide on a $30 million budget. It opened on March 2 with $17.1 million across 1,225 theaters. Connery played Soviet submarine captain Marko Ramius and spent weeks in a replica submarine that hung 45 feet above the stage floor. 62 cast and crew members were squeezed inside with him. The set tilted at severe angles. The heat rose under the lights. Connery suffered from seasickness and still pushed through. He finished his part in 4 weeks before filming shifted to Port Angeles and the waters near Los Angeles. The film's success launched the Jack Ryan series that continued for decades. In The Name of the Rose in 1986, Connery gained weight to play William of Baskerville, a Franciscan monk caught inside a 14th-century mystery. The production used more than 3,000 candles to light the monastery sets. Real monks chanted in Latin during filming. The final library fire took weeks to shoot and used real flames that destroyed the entire set. In the story, the candle knocked over during the chase, with Jorge leads to a blaze so fierce that the library collapses. Priceless manuscripts burn. The abbot dies. Salvatore and Remigio burn on stakes outside. Connery carried the role with quiet force, and that performance lifted him into the Untouchables the following year and changed his career. When The Rock arrived in 1996, Connery was 66. He stood beside Nicolas Cage inside a wild Alcatraz showdown. He played John Mason, a prisoner who once escaped from Alcatraz and seemed like a rougher version of everything people had loved about Bond. The plot revolved around 15 VX gas rockets, 81 hostages, $100 million in demands, and a team of rogue Marines led by Ed Harris. Cage's character tried to disable the chemical weapons. Connery brought a worn strength to the role, guiding the team through old tunnels and hidden traps. The movie became a box office hit, filled with explosions and practical stunts, and Connery's presence made the story feel grounded inside all the chaos. His first marriage to Diane Cilento began in Gibraltar in 1962. They had met in 1957 while performing in Anna Christie. But the famous story about John Stompanato interrupting their wedding was not true. The real Stompanato incident happened in 1957 on the set of Another Time, Another Place, when he confronted Connery with a handgun because of rumors about Lana Turner. Connery stood tall at 6'2", twisted the gun from his hand, punched him once, and let Scotland Yard handle the rest. Stompanato was deported for violating gun laws. Sean and Diane welcomed their son, Jason, on January 11, 1963. Their marriage slowly broke apart as Bond fame grew too large. They separated in 1971 and divorced in 1973. In her 2005 autobiography, My 9 Lives, Diane accused Connery of physical and emotional abuse. She explained that he was twice her weight and that certain moments had frightened her deeply. Connery had already made troubling remarks in a 1965 Playboy interview where he said he did not see anything particularly wrong with hitting a woman. Later, he claimed his words were taken out of context and denied hitting her. Diane believed his upbringing and sudden fame made everything worse. Her revelations shocked people and cast a shadow that never fully went away. Connery married Micheline Roquebrune in 1975, although their relationship started in 1970 when they met at a golf tournament in Morocco. She said she admired him from behind before she knew who he was. They stayed together for 45 years, but Connery had several affairs. The most public one came in 1989 with singer Lindsay DePaul. He had slipped her his number while she sat beside his wife. The affair lasted a few months until Connery vanished without a word. Lindsay later said she was flattered, not in love, and regretted the whole thing. In 1987, Connery gave a Barbara Walters interview that nearly consumed his reputation. Walters confronted him about the 1965 comments, and he repeated them. He said it depended on the circumstances. Walters asked again, and he stood by it. The backlash hit hard. Women's groups protested, and his image took serious damage. Years later, he said his words had been edited unfairly, but the moment never faded. During the filming of Diamonds Are Forever in 1971, Connery also became involved with two Bond co-stars. Lana Wood, only 21 at the time, entered a secret affair with him. Their meetings took place in trailers, hotels, and hidden corners of the set. At the same time, he was seeing Jill St. John. The discovery sparked a long feud between the two women. They refused to be photographed together, even at a 1999 Vanity Fair reunion. The tension from that period lasted for decades. Connery founded the Scottish International Education Trust in 1970. It helped young people in Scotland pay for higher education. After Connery died in 2020, at age 90 from dementia-related complications, his estate established the Sean Connery Foundation in 2022. £6 million were given in the first round of grants. Another group of funds, more than €1 million, went to Scottish filmmaking groups in 2023. His stepson, Stephen Connery, said Sean believed education was a force that could multiply opportunities for children who grew up like he did. He received his knighthood on July 5, 2000, at Holyrood Palace. He was 69. It came after 2 rejections in 1997 and 1998 because of his support for the Scottish National Party. Many critics called him a tax exile because he lived in the Bahamas and Monaco. In 2003, he released tax documents showing he had paid £3.7 million between 1997 and 2003. Still, some argued he would have paid more if he had lived in the United Kingdom. His brother later admitted that Sean's tax status limited how many days he could spend in the country. It kept him from returning during the 2014 Scottish independence campaign. The knighthood became a symbol of pride and conflict at the same time. Even though he collected awards like the BAFTA Fellowship in 1998 and the Cecil B. DeMille Award in 1996, Connery never held back his opinions. He criticized modern Hollywood in interviews. He said too many idiots were making films. He believed the industry had lost its sense of purpose. These speeches sounded like farewells even before he officially retired. His health weakened after kidney tumor surgery in 2003. Around 2010, the signs of dementia grew clearer. He forgot names. He lost the sharpness that once defined him. By 2015, he rarely left home. His final years were quiet. Even in earlier recording sessions like his 2005 voice role in The Chronicles of Narnia, people noticed moments where he lost his place or slurred lines. He became dependent on his wife. Tasks he once did without thinking became difficult. He turned down Gandalf in 2001. The offer included $30 million plus 15% of the profits, which would have become about $450 million. Connery said he did not understand the script. He turned down Indiana Jones and The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2007 as well, because the role offered nothing meaningful. He later admitted that the character did not matter to the new story. He no longer wanted to push himself for parts he did not believe in. By the 2000s, Connery grew bitter about Bond. He said he had always disliked the character and once said he would like to kill him. He felt trapped. He believed the role made people see him as something he was not. He talked about shallow relationships and people drawn to the image instead of the man. Living in the Bahamas became his escape. His last public appearance came in June 2012 at the Edinburgh International Film Festival. He looked frail and spoke softly. He thanked the crowd and left quickly. After that moment, he disappeared from public life completely. For 8 years, no one saw him except family. On the set of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, things fell apart between Connery and director Stephen Norrington. The argument over the elephant gun prop exploded until the director told him he wanted to punch him. They clashed so heavily that Norrington lost his editing control. At the 2003 premiere, Connery joked about checking the local asylum when asked about the missing director. The problems grew deeper during the editing stage when Connery watched the warehouse death scene and realized the film was already ruined. Fox refused to delay the July 11 release. Pirates of the Caribbean premiered the same weekend and crushed everything. Connery saw that the system had become unfixable. The movie opened with $23.2 million and dropped quickly. It made $66.5 million domestically and $179.3 million worldwide on a $78 million budget. The low Rotten Tomatoes score of 17% sealed its reputation. Connery's $17 million salary became a talking point because studios said it kept them from hiring others. At the 2006 AFI ceremony, after years of frustration, Connery said he had enough and retired. He blamed the people running Hollywood and said he no longer wanted to fight. Michael Caine tried to convince him to return, but Connery refused every offer. Sean Connery died on October 31, 2020, at age 90. His wife said dementia had taken so much from him in his final months. He passed away in his sleep, quietly, exactly the way he wanted. A life that filled theaters and shaped decades ended without noise. It ended in peace.